Hi, everyone. I'm going to tell you a story about my little boy, Stan. And Stan is nearly 7. He's just gone through his first set of SATs at school. So SATs are the government's way of screening children for their abilities in maths and English, and that happens twice in school. It happens, first of all, like when at Stan's age, when they're 6 and 7, and it happens again as they're about to leave primary school when they're 10 or 11 years old. And the kids at school were starting to get a little bit ruffled about this. They had an anticipation that something was happening. Okay, so the teachers become aware that things are hotting up, pressures are hotting up, and to try and prepare them for what's to become, they send home with the children a practice SATs test paper. It's like an 8-page booklet. And we have 2 weeks to work our way through these practice papers. And, you know, I always leave everything to the last minute, so I sit down at the table with Stan the day before. And we start wading through, and actually the questions are all right. They're pretty sort of regular data visualization, bar chart type questions. There's a character called Ravi who has a collection of pencils. He often loses them or swaps them, all these different colors. And he goes to the shop with Rita quite a lot. You know, they have lots of different coins, and they're pretty unimaginative questions, really, on the whole. But the thing is that he's really struggling with is that the questions, a lot of the time, have kinds of language that he hasn't come across before. Words like inverse, and he's like, Mum, I don't know what an inverse is. And I'm like, okay, let's talk about inverse, let's talk this. And this is a problem because he's supposed to be able to do this work independently, and I'm supposed to just kind of sit back and watch. And there's more and more unfamiliar words that come up. Words like equivalent and estimate that just don't feature in a 6-year-old's like everyday vocab, right? So he's getting a bit frustrated and he's working through it, and bless him, you know, he's doing all right. We're trying to make the best out of a bad situation. And then we get to this question about a tree. So the question goes, no word of a lie. Here's a tree. Beside the tree is a meter ruler, right? Estimate the height of the tree and circle the best estimate. And the answers that you're given are 6 meters, 6 centimeters, 6 milliliters, and 6 kilograms. And this is like total shutdown. This is like, none of these answers are right. This just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense at all. And I'm like, okay, well, let's just take it easy. It's like, just tell me the right answer. And I'm like, okay, let's look at this. Okay, well, like kilogram, a milliliter, yeah, right, they're like weights and liquids, so it's definitely not those. And he's like, well, it's got to be like 1 point something. Like, it's got to be like, it's just over a meter, clearly. If that's a meter rule, and I'm like, well, yeah, but we don't really have an answer for that, do we? So it's got to be 6 centimeters or 6 meters, right? So I'm like, okay, look, well, let's just bear with it. And he's getting more and more worked up about this. So we start trying to count the centimeters and the 10 centimeters of the ruler and try to work it out from that. But actually, even in the ruler, there isn't even 100 centimeters in the ruler. So we are stuck. He's going nuts. He's going bananas. No amount of chocolate bribery is going to solve this problem. We are just off limits. For the rest of the day, it's like paper's shot. Off you go to your bedroom. It's fine. Let's just like take the heat out. Whatever. He goes off a bit emotional. And I'm like, okay, right, time for a G&T. Onto the WhatsApp. Because the WhatsApp is my only way of solving any of these problems. So I get on the phone to the WhatsApp girls, the WhatsApp bad mums. WhatsApp bad mums are an awesome bunch of women, right, who happen to have kids at the same school as Stan. So we have a police officer, we have a mental health nurse, we have a woman who works in audiology, we've got a woman who works in engineering, and we've got 2 senior sales manager type women, and there's me, the arty one. And I'm thinking, right, like between us, right, we're going to be able to fix this question. We are going to be able to work out the true height of this tree. Like, what is the real answer to this? Because girls, I'm really struggling. And they were like, oh my God, the height of the tree, this just does not make sense. And we're all kind of sharing stories about what we think could be the answer. None of us actually really know, and we kind of battle it out for about half an hour over WhatsApp, like different questions going backwards and forwards, lots of slating about Ravi going on. And then we go with Louisa, who's the science teacher, who's like, do you know what, there's only one logical answer here. It has to be 6 meters, but the meter rule just has to be like wildly out of scale. It's definitely not to scale. So let's just forget the question. We'll just go with that. And we were like, right, yeah, let's just go with that. That's just like, it's fine. It solves the problem. But then we carry on over a few more G&Ts, and we talk about all of the different meltdowns that all of the kids have been having over the last 2 weeks. And it seems like if the kids haven't already switched off, then they're incomplete, like, don't want to do this. This is absolutely ridiculous. It just doesn't make sense. And they're all having exactly the same problems. And actually, all this has been going on for the last 2 weeks. I've just been completely oblivious because I've lost it at the last minute, because I am a procrastinator. So over more G&Ts, we come up with wild fantasies about Ravi, and how potentially he could be a superhero by night. And maybe stories about Ravi as a superhero could help Oscar to relate to him, because Oscar doesn't really relate to Ravi and his pencil collection. Oscar spends 90% of his life being a soldier or a knight. So we came up with some stories to kind of help this, and some blatant lies and tricks to, let's face it, just be able to get our kids to be able to answer the questions. And we did it. We go through the weekend. Finally get through it, and we get into the school playground on Monday morning. And I'm like, have you got your homework? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, what day is it? Monday. Who's picking you up? You. No after school club. Great, brilliant. We're on track. And we get close to the front, and then he notices Stan stops in his tracks, because all of his mates are like zombies, like 6, 7-year-old zombies in the playground with their mouths open like this. And Stan's like, Phoenix, 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 what's wrong? And he's like, and there at the door is Mrs. Yates. But it's not Mrs. Yates. It's Mrs. Yates as a woman in black. And alongside her are all of the Year 2 teachers and teaching assistants stood dressed as men and women in black. They've got it going on. Will Smith, eat your heart out. They've got the black suits, they've got the black ties, white shirts, they've got the blacked out sunglasses. They look like absolutely real, like spies, secret agents for the government. Like, it's totally going on in school. Like, something's come down over the weekend and life is never going to be the same again. So the kids are like just siding past the teachers like this, looking like slightly scared, like, what's with Mrs. Yates? I don't know, but something's really happened. And they go into school. Because today isn't Monday, and it's not SATs testing day number 1. Today is secret agent testing day. So over the weekend, the teachers, realizing that some of the kids were struggling a bit, came up with the ingenious idea of becoming secret agent testers. The school had been set a secret mission by the government to test the abilities of future potential secret agents. Oh yeah, this could be their chance to be a future spy. It doesn't get any better than this. The excitement is palpable. They are all bouncing off the classroom walls, off the ceilings. They're waiting for their name to be called, and they're all given a secret code name. Stanley's is Red Sharks, but I'm not allowed to tell anyone, otherwise I'll be killed. Okay, so it's really top secret. So they all wait for their name to be called, or the secret code name, and they go in waves through the week. But in between, they're coming home, and they are literally like the most hype you've ever seen them. Like, some of them won't even go to sleep. Oscar B is demanding that his mum tells him everything there is to know about what it takes to be a spy. He's desperate to be a spy. So Louisa's like on the Google, we're on the WhatsApp, like MI5 and FBI are probably kind of having strange suspicions about what's going on, like why there's all these like secret spy investigations, like what is going on. But between us, we managed to get them the data that they need, like to feed their imaginations, to go back into school. And they go through the week, and they have like actually one of the best weeks ever, and they come out buzzing because they all feel like they've got a chance at being a spy in the future. There's no emotional scars. It's amazing. And actually, I'm never going to blow that bubble. So Stan still thinks he's in line to be a next secret agent, which is awesome. Now, I know that I'm really fortunate that my kids go to a really, really creative school. They really do. And that was a deliberate choice. You know, you can see it. It's evident from the moment you walk through the door. They have artist-designed spaces and learning spaces, which are really themed. It's a really, really wonderful school. And not all schools are like that. We made a choice to move to that school from another school, which actually had some really interesting kids in it. Really lively, really interesting kids, really mixed demographics, skills, abilities, and interests, and it felt great, like perfectly creative, like community school. But it went into special measures because it wasn't hitting its targets. And as it did that, a lot of the kids just started detaching. They started just switching off, including Fred, my oldest, who then was 5. And we used to get called literally every day from the school saying, you need to come in, you need to have a meeting. We'd just get emails, complaints, like disruptive behaviour going on all over the place. One day, my husband and I were called at work and we were told we had to come in as soon as possible. Something really urgent had happened. And, it was, we were like, oh my God, is he all right? And they were like, yeah, he's physically fine, but there's a really serious behaviour situation that's happened. So my husband and I left work, we rushed down to the school, we got there, we're around this table with the head teacher, with the class teacher, and the pastoral care lady, and little Fred. And we say, okay, what's happened? And the teacher says, today, Fred flicked a pencil across the classroom to another table. And my husband and I were like, and then what happened? And they were like, well, this is the really bad bit, because we told him that was really unacceptable and not to do it again. And he did it again. I mean, why would he do that again? I mean, we just don't understand, like, why his head would do that. So I'm like, okay, I've really been called out of, like, work early for this. So I look at Fred, and I'm like, Fred, why did you do that? And he's like, well, we'd been learning about calculations and distances, and I was trying to get the pencil in the pot on the next table. I was like, well, okay, maybe he just needs some help with his maths reasoning skills, Maybe he's just not getting the support with distances that he needs. I don't know, but, like, really? Seriously? And we're seeing more and more kids switch off in school. That's one situation that we had control over, but we were recently asked to work with a bunch of teenage boys who'd hacked into the school computer system and downloaded porn onto their teacher's computer. We were like, amazing skills, boys, we'd love to work with you, and you are probably the secret agents of the future that MI5 totally need to work with. Absolutely, come this way. And actually, they really relate to a lot of the artists that we work with, who also come from similarly disruptive backgrounds. They might have taken down a famous bookies website trying to learn tricks of betting, or had free catalogue clothes deliveries for their families for their entire teenage years, for example. But they now lead really legit creative careers, developing creative technologies that have never existed before, like amazing, amazing inventions, experimental games, super, super highly intelligent people. And if you look at the history of innovation, it's littered with examples of people that just didn't fit into the right kind of usual box. Like the Industrial Revolution that started right here in Birmingham, and the Lunar Society was a collective of really radical thinkers, philosophers, scientists, artists, engineers, poets, ceramicists, who met. They shared a kind of similar kinship because they thought really creatively and out of the box. And that included James Watt, the guy that went on to invent the steam engine. James was a backward scholar, or so they called him. He was homeschooled because of ill health. And eventually, when he was old enough to go to school, he didn't fit in. He was socially awkward. Everyone else had made their own friends by that point, and he was different. He'd learned to tinker in his dad's workshop. He'd learned to tinker with loads of different instruments and materials, and he became a brilliant inventor of instruments before moving here to Birmingham, where he met Matthew Boulton, and they together remodeled the engine that created the steam engine, and so the Industrial Revolution was born. But how amazing. He was not able to take up a lot of opportunities. He was excluded from so many apprenticeships and schools. But he found the opportunities right here within a kind of kinship group of creatives and people that also thought outside of the box. In fact, Birmingham's coat of arms even features an artist and an engineer. It's only just recently that arts have stopped being seen on an equal footing with the sciences. And the idea of STEAM, as well as the steam engine, is really, really important. The combining of science, technologies, engineering, arts and maths, so putting art into the STEM subjects, is really, really great way of getting kids to learn, getting kids that are more disruptive, innovating young people to learn. It suits their brains that short circuit when they're going round that tiring little box of how to answer a perfect question. There are kids and people that can fix problems that we can't even imagine, that are really great systems fixers. And while the idea of STEAM has been really easily picked up within the corporate sector, lots of businesses have got very excited about it, universities, fab labs, and so forth, education is still really backwards in coming forward with the idea of STEAM. I don't know why that is, and why we still structure subjects in separation, in isolation, and why we have this, drive towards creating a generation of perfect English-speaking mathematicians. And that's really, really important, because if we're creating perfect systems fixers, how are we ever going to fix the very real world problems that we're creating right now, right here, for the future generation? And how will we ever dream up new inventions, new ideas, new technologies, and new possibilities for things that can change the world tomorrow? We need to be working with people that can think outside of the box, that don't fit the usual system. And it's really, really important that we create spaces and opportunities to support the progression of those people, not exclude them. We really need to revalue the importance of the arts in society. The arts isn't something that should only be seen as entertainment, as something extracurricular and accessible to only a few privileged people. The arts is absolutely essential for learning across subjects, across cultures. It's essential for innovation, and it's essential to the very fabric of our future society. Thank you.